Welcome back, Planet Coaster adventurers, to another episode of Planet Coaster here on UK theme parks. Now, for those that were here with the last episode, you'll know we're about to start building our first interactive dark shooting ride, which is going to be the Ghostbusters theme one, and it's in our Egyptian sort of style area as well. It's not going to be a traditional sort of city one, indeed any kind of links to the film. We want to make something completely original, completely different. And it won't be that long, but we are looking to theme it relatively heavy as best we can inside, and we're looking to enclose it as well under a mound of dirt. That's right, we're going to enclose it under a mound of dirt. So we're going to try and get the track ready. We're going to literally base as well. You can see here, you can change the arrow size, the arrow direction in which way you want the cars to face as you go around, much like the Haunted Mansion ride, which was already in the game. So we know then where we're going to be putting our main scenery base and where we're going to need to really theme up, and then possibly areas behind that you won't see. As we said, it's actually not going to be a very long ride at all. We're going to keep it fairly short, but it's going to go fairly slowly, and that will give us a chance to add some interactive features and of course some shooting as well, because we do want this to be a shooting ride. I know they're not always everyone's favourite, the shooting rides, but I'm quite excited actually to have it in here. But this is our basis. We're going to move it over very slightly because it is a bit close to our hyper coaster there, and we do want to build around this. Although there won't be any rides to the left or right of this or behind this, we may put a little ride in the front area once all this is complete. But yeah, as you can see here, you've seen the directional arrows we put in. We can test the ride, and the car will go around the directional arrows left and right and follow the scenery, which is exactly what we want. And this final piece here, where you can see it going down now, is where we're likely going to have our Marshmallow Man. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what area we're in, we cannot build a Ghostbusters ride without having a Marshmallow Man. Now what we've done here is we've actually mapped out the flooring, because we don't want a grass floor and we don't really like any of the terrain that's selected, so we want to have a proper floor in there, and we've marked it out of what you'll see on the ride and the really important bits. And then I hate building pyramids, I absolutely hate building pyramids, but we're going to try and build a pyramid sort of style entrance. So once you come out of the station, there'll be a little cutscene, and then we will head into a pyramid to the rest of the ride effectively. So this is going to be like a travel through time ride. So it will sort of make sense at the end. At the end of the day, it's a fantasy game. We can do what we like with it, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Now then, the theming on here is going to be quite tricky to put together. I always find the Egyptian theme quite difficult to put together. As we said, I had a real struggle with this pyramid. I hate building them. I hate building them. Even when they snap into place, they don't snap how we want them. However, that said, the overall look of the Egyptian theme is just fantastic, because it can look run down and at the same time it can look really detailed, really incredible. But this will be our opening scene here. We're going to have an abandoned Ghostbusters car sitting on a pile of Egyptian rock. So you'll come around the corner and you'll see these two colourful characters and the car all ready and waiting for you. Then of course you'll be transformed into the actual sort of tomb area itself, and it's all going to come together as a wild fantasy. As we said, we want to go for something a little bit different rather than just building a recreation of the Ghostbusters. We could have attempted that, could have just done your standard streets and things, graffiti and New York streets, but we don't want to do that. We'd really want to have something a little bit more special. So we're going to play with some of the effects and just see what's best to actually put up and what's best to use. We'll get some of them in first before putting the targets in, because obviously these will want to link to the targets, and we want to make sure that we have the right animatronics to go with the targets, and indeed they can be triggered at the right point so that people can see them, because there's very little point in having a trigger if it triggers something that they're going to be passed at the time. So targets will be in nice and early, and we may have the lights on the targets as well. We may have the lights just sort of standard. We want to keep it as dark as we can in there and have some spotlights going out, and we'll put them and we'll change those colours as well so they kind of fit more with the mood rather than having bright white. There is quite a lot of stuff we need to do here. I haven't really thought ahead of any of the scenes or anything. I've just kind of thrown it together as we go, which is probably never a good thing, to be honest with you. However, we do like a good challenge. As we said, there are some lovely pieces in here. So where we're going to be splitting the scenes, it's going to be quite easy to kind of put a little bit of different scenery in. We can have obviously moving parts as well as smoke effects. in terms of triggers, so you're not just shooting at blank targets that don't do anything. That's something I do like, you know, when you think of Legoland in the UK and you think of Laser Raiders, however poor the ride actually is, it is quite interactive. Now then, we're going to have all 4 of the Ghostbusters characters in this area here. We're going to build them up with ghosts that when targets are hit, the ghosts will come up and indeed they will end up shooting at them as well. So it really does interact that they're doing it. We're going to make sure we don't cross the streams. Obviously, we are most certainly not up for that kind of devastation in this tiny little ride space. But the targets will link to these. They'll link to the ghost popping up. Hopefully they'll pop up in front of your face if it works as planned, and then of course the Ghostbusters will come in and save the day. We're going to build a nice big snake as well for the next scene, which we'll kind of see coming. Again, these are really difficult to put together, they really are. We're going to make sure that we don't get it interacting too badly with the ride in terms of it not fitting. So we want the ride to go under that. We're going to have some lighting effects around here too. Put some trees in and put some shrubbery in, and yeah, it's going to feel like an outdoor world once you're in here, but it is going to act very much like an indoor ride, and you won't be able to see any of it as you go round. Spaces wise, scene to scene, it's gonna vary. We don't want to duplicate too much of the scenery, so we don't want to duplicate too much of the ghosts in there. We don't want to duplicate too much of the Azteca sort of theme in either. We want to have something a little bit different. We will use the mummies. The mummies, I think, are brilliant. Brilliant interaction, the way they sort of fall forward, fall backwards. We'll have a couple of them on the bridge, and we probably will bring in some of the Ghostbusters theme in as well around here. One of the sort of dogs, before we head round to the final scene, which will, the penultimate scene, will have Slimer, because again, you can't build Ghostbusters without Slimer. And then once Slimer's out of the way, we'll go into the Marshmallow Man and Gozer. I want to say Gozer themselves. So there's quite a lot going on here, and there's quite a lot we want to fit in. You know, as we said, no iconic scenes whatsoever. We want this to be sort of a fresh Ghostbusters told story, but with some familiar faces and some familiar characters along the way, just to kind of, you know, keep the audience retention rate, shall we say, if you're on the ride and you can relate it to actually Ghostbusters itself. It's really nice when you build an indoor ride. I actually don't find them, although they're quite time consuming, and if you don't know kind of what scenes you want, they can be a bit of a pain. You don't have to obviously build to the ceiling. You don't have to build all the way around, particularly on rides like this which swing round. You know, you can take a few shortcuts. You know you're going to have a roof on it, so you can cut the scenery a bit small. So when we go around now, you can see the bit that we've got there with the snake and the bridge. You know, a little bit enclosed, nothing too major, and it will just, once it's dark, flow quite nicely. We're just going to use these as blanking boards. These blanking boards will cut between scenes. You'll see them. We'll add a little bit of theming on them, but nothing too major. And this is the only sort of throwback we're going to have to a New York City, is going to be this bit here, which will be the Slimer area. It's just a nice little nod. It's nothing too big. We're only literally going for sort of 1 or 2 boards, and the rest of it will be overgrown by trees. And then we're going to have a Slimer coming out of you here, as well as a couple of Slimers popping up. And again, we will put these on triggers. We'll also have a bit of slime around. I mean, again, who doesn't like a little bit of slime around? Slimer changed the world, absolutely changed the world, so did Ghostbusters. So this nod hopefully will go really, really well, and once it's all together, hopefully will look quite good as well. We now cut into the final scene here. As you can see, we put some rock work in, that's all we've done. We're going to remove a little bit of this because we actually want to sync this bit so we can fit a Marshmallow Man in there. Now then, again, we are going to have the iconic character. We've got to have the Marshmallow Man. I can't see a time where we don't have the Marshmallow Man in a Ghostbusters recreation. I just can't see it. And we want a full-size one as well. And we're going to have Min nodding away. And we'll have some smoke effects for him, which will be built on the triggers. So really looking forward to this. I think he looks really cool in there. And I think sort of sunk into the ground, kind of looking up and over you, is absolutely ideal. We're going to have the Ghostbusters characters because they are going to have to be shooting this thing down. And we're going to have them in different places as well. Again, we want to try not to cross the streams. We're going to have him sit on his arm. And here you can see the smoke sort of effects going in for where it's hitting. And these will be linked to the targets. Finally, we want the Marshmallow Man to be controlled by Gozer. I'm sure I still think it's Gozer at the end here. And we'll have one of the other guys going at her here, and this again will all be controlled. This will all be on sensors, and this will all be on score based too. Because at the end of the day, depending which one you shoot, will depend how much score you get. And we can't wait to try that one out. Bit of scenery going around here. What we're going to do is off camera, we are going to put the roof on. We are going to use just literally a roof made of the terrain. That's what we want to do. It will darken it up nicely and it will be nice, and it's relatively easy to put through. Sometimes it does encroach onto the actual ride, so you know, we don't want to take you through all of that. We want to make sure that's done. Here's the path going under now. We put a little scenario in at the end as well, where the Ghostbusters are waving goodbye to you, and that'll be the finale of the ride. So we'll come back to you very shortly, and we will have a roof on this, and we'll be doing the front area of the attraction. So that final shot was what it looked like before the roof's gone on, and here's the roof on right now. It's as easy as that. Now we're going to build a front up. We do want the front to look nice as you walk in. You know, around the side doesn't matter as much. You're not going to be walking down there. It's going to be sort of a show front building, not one that we need to theme all the way round. So we're just going to have a nice little entrance area here for the Ghostbusters ride, and we'll build the queue out as well, so we can have a queue coming round to the left hand side of where you see now. Duplicate that across, and yeah, this will be sort of your you know, your welcome to the ride part, with a, you know, not a massive queue. I don't know how busy these rides are going to get, to be honest with you. I really don't. Capacity is always a problem in these, because loading is always bad, which is one of the reasons why we always do load one side, offload the next. It is the easiest way to get best capacity on any of the rides, rather than waiting for guests to get off. Unfortunately, the way the game's programmed, you know, guests don't start loading until the others have completely left the platform and the gate is closed. It can be a little bit of a pain, to be honest with you. Little bit of a pain. But we definitely want to make the front look nice. We don't want to make it look like it's in a huge building. You know, a bit derelict at the same time, but definitely, you know, inviting for you to come over and look at. So we're just going to build up this front of the terrain area, which we've done here. We're going to add some trees and some other plants and grass and make it look sort of overgrown. You know, you're really going to have to look to find the ride, in honesty. It's going to be really well hidden, and no one's going to have a clue what's inside. And indeed, we've added a few nice little touches inside, and we've connected all of the dots in terms of the targets as well, so you'll get to see the targets when we do it. And we are literally going to name this Ghostbusters in Time. So we'll have the in time part, and we're going to have a proper Ghostbusters sign on there as well, because it came with the pack. And yeah, there we go. This is sort of our entrance area to the building. Make sure people can see it at night. And that's where we are. Yes, so we've got two big rides here, what I class as big rides here, and we're going to put a little one in as well. We want to enclose this area from the front, because at the end of the day, we don't want it seen from the front. It is going to be a completely separate area, and we're going to have just literally little paragliders in here. You know, as you come flying into the jungle area, this is the kind of ride you're going to come flying in on a paraglider. So we're going to get some paragliders in here, connect all the paths up, and we'll be back once we've done that. We have put quite a lot together in that little period of time there. I say little period of time, we have sped it up quite considerably, but in that little period of time, we've got the ride in, we've got certainly a lot of scenery going around. As you can see, we've built a little station over a hypercoaster. It's not going to be an enclosed one, we are going to keep this open rather than having a roof over absolutely everything, but we do want to, again, make it look as realistic as possible, get some fences in and make sure that people can, really relate to the area when they're in there. So really happy way this has come together. We've got 3 cracking rides in here. So we've got the hypercoaster. We will be taking on these rides later as well. I'm hoping the park runs quite well once we've filled it up a bit, because we are looking to do probably the biggest park we've ever done on Planet Coaster in terms of biggest one I've ever built. So I don't know how the PC is going to handle it, to be honest with you. It'd be interesting to see. Some of you may have already noticed that, it is subject to lagging sometimes. Sometimes it gets a little bit laggy. We are trying. We have a fairly high-spec PC, but it may be a case of once we completed this, we need to upgrade the graphics card. I think upgrading the graphics card will be key to getting the next series up and running. But really happy the way this has come together. It looks quite a nice area. It's really nicely enclosed. I mean, you literally walk in, you've got a hypercoaster on the right, you've got the Ghostbusters ride in front of you, you've got the paragliders on the left. It's all enclosed really, really well. I mean, it's all within sort of, hand throw distance of everything, and I just love the way that's happened with the rides. You don't have to walk down the side of them. You don't really see any of the hypercoaster. You certainly don't see any of the Ghostbusters ride either. So it's going to be a real shock and surprise for when you get in the park and you get on it. So really, really happy the way this has come together. And as I said, details, we'll add in now before moving on to our next area. Now then, I do need to get a small sense of direction here and which way we're going. So right on the left hand side, we have sort of our devastation area. Then on the right hand side, as you walk in, we're going to have the Forgotten Tomb Egyptian area around there. And then straight ahead, we're going to lead into the third area. There will be 4 areas. I think it'll be the fairy tale area is going to be quite compact, quite small actually. And that will lead off the back probably of the devastation area with the inverted coaster, and then link into whichever area we build sort of straight ahead. I think we're going to be doing a Western themed area or sort of a desert themed area straight ahead. This is going to be a grand ride that we're going to be throwing together very, very shortly. It's going to be a roller coaster, I think. Not sure, in fact, no, I'm not sure which roller coaster we're going to go for yet. It's something we'll have a think of before we start the next episode, but we are going to go for a massive roller coaster. Probably quite unrealistic, to be honest with you, but at the same time, we want to keep the stats right, we want to keep it flowing nicely, and we want to get a good amount of cars on it. But that is for the next episode. This episode, we want to get this entrance area built. We're going to go with a contemporary style entrance here, nothing too sort of themey, if you will, nothing to link in with what we have already, just sort of a standard entrance. We'll get it all enclosed, we'll get a nice base on it, we're going to get some shops in there. We'll get some signs as well in the windows. We'll put some windows in, we'll get some windows and signs in there. I hate, as a general, building entrance areas. Entrance areas have never been my strong point. I don't know. I think the next part we probably need to start with the entrance area. I think I've got to start with a grand entrance area. I really don't have any interest in putting car parks and things like that in. I don't think they add to the game. And I know what people say, it's the realism of it all. What do you want at the realism side? But I want the space to be able to build potentially big rides if I decide I want to fill the park. And that's not saying I'm going to fill the park, because there have been plenty of times where we haven't filled the park and I've been really, really happy with it. And I'm not even sure how this one's going to turn up and whether or not we're going to have a full park on this one either. However, we are going to build as we go, and we'll see how it goes and how it all pans out at the end. As far as this is concerned, we do need an entrance area. We do need a walk-in bit. It's always good to have shops and things at the entrance. It kind of gets people buying, it gets people sitting down, gets people resting. And then you'll be able to go off into various different areas, whether it be this area here, whether it be the area down there. I've just noticed I completely missed the back off of there, but I better add a back in. There we go. Or whether it goes off into the Egyptian area over there, and as you can see there, it's first sight at the top of the Ghostbusters building. This will be where it branches out down towards our inverted coaster. We're going to have the land slightly raised here because we don't really have anything to put in the middle, to be honest with you. There's nothing else I really want to put there. We will probably curb it along here, and if we don't curb it, we'll definitely put some scenery and bits along here as we go, and of course use the tarmac tool to make it look like it's all kind of interlinked. So it will branch out quite early down here, and it will definitely branch out as well to the Egyptian area down the other end also. The scenery pieces we're using here are from the Studios pack. It's actually a really good pack. If you haven't got the pack already, I do recommend it because you can build movie-based rides, and you can have all this kind of bits that you see. We're going into this area, and this doesn't include any of the stuntmen. It doesn't include any of the sort of car chases and bits and pieces you can add also. It just adds a real bit of depth to the scenery, and it doesn't necessarily have to be around the movie industry. We're using this as a devastation area, and it's working quite well. It's actually working really, really well. We're going to put the paths in down here, as we said. People will be walking down this path where they won't be able to walk down the main road bit. So this will be sort of like, it's like Walking Dead style walking down here, completely abandoned. So it keeps the theme going as people walk into the area. We could have just had a path going through a bit of woodland and then, oh, there's your area, there it is. But we want to kind of, from the entrance here, branch off so people can see, oh, I look left, I'm going into, this kind of area. I look right, I'm going to this kind of area. If I walk forward, I'm going into this kind of area. And you can see that completely from the entrance. The only one you won't be able to see will be the fairy tale land, which will be coming up very, very soon. And we have an idea for that. We have an idea that we want to do a coaster in there. I think every area needs to have a coaster as kind of a highlight, although arguably actually the Egyptian area, probably the Ghostbusters ride might be the highlight, however popular the coaster ends up being. Now, I love these vending machines. I love the fact that vending machines come in little games as well, so we're going to add a few of those as you go down here. It saves having shops, and it saves having vendors having to come in also, so it just kind of fills the gaps as people walk down. So the other area is a little bit closer actually to the park entrance. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter walk. We'll make it a little bit jungle sort of like as you approach it. Once we get these paths sorted, I do hate the way the paths link. I really think they should link a little bit better. I'd love to see some work done on the paths, to be honest with you. And I'm not sure when you walk in the park what you'll be able to see more, whether you'll be able to see the inverted coaster in front of you or whether you or not you will actually be able to look right and see the big hyper coaster. Some of it's going to be really hidden away, particularly the inverted coasters can be quite hidden away, and the out and back coaster as well goes right the way down to the bottom. It's not kind of in your face over the entrance area. So you're not going to be able to see everything as you walk in, which is exactly what we want. We want some of it behind trees, we want some of it behind rocks, and we want to create sort of the illusion that you are indeed at a theme park, dare I say at a theme park. I hope you're enjoying this build so far. Leave your comments below. What do you think of the build so far? We've got a fair bit amount to do. We've got a fair bit amount we want to add. We're finishing off the entrance in this one, and in the next one we are going to start our massive roller coaster. I've been dreaming about this thing. This thing is going to be huge, so make sure you check back on the next episode and join us for our new huge coaster. We'll see you next time.